So now we move to some videos. Senator Tulsi Gabbard was supposed to be here this morning, but due to an emergency in her district, she has sent a video, which I will introduce, and will be followed by a video from Congressman Barbara Lee. Senator Tulsi Gabbard has been leading the way to federally decriminalize marijuana. Last year, she introduced a bipartisan bill, H.R. 1227, the Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act, which seeks to reform outdated and widely problematic laws by federally decriminalizing marijuana. She has also been calling on the FDA, which has classified marijuana as a Schedule I drug, along with heroin, MDMA, and LSD, to remove it from this list. Being on this list means that valuable and critical research into the health benefits of marijuana, which range from reducing anxiety to halting the growth of cancer cells, will not happen at the pace which should be required. The reforms Tulsi is seeking are common sense, reduce the strain on the criminal justice system, create certainty, and reduce contradictions and confusion between state and federal law. Aloha, Senator Gabbard.
Aloha. Thank you to the National Cannabis Festival for hosting this weekend's Policy Summit and events, and for your work to organize and advocate for long overdue reforms. I'd hoped to be there with you this weekend, but Kauai in my district has just gone through record-breaking rainfalls and landslides that have displaced hundreds of people, that have wiped out businesses and homes and roads. So I'm going to be back in Kauai by the time you see this message, where many of my constituents are still without water and electricity. Please keep them in your thoughts this weekend as new rainstorms have moved in and recovery is still underway. Now, the importance of your participation in this critical discussion cannot be overstated. Our archaic and nonsensical laws on cannabis are turning everyday Americans into criminals, sending them to jail, ruining their lives, tearing their families apart, and wasting huge amounts of taxpayer dollars to arrest, prosecute, and incarcerate people for marijuana use, a substance that has been proven time and time again to be far less dangerous than alcohol, both for consumers and for those around them. In my home state of Hawaii alone, we send hundreds of inmates out of state every year due to prison overcrowding, the large majority of which are due to nonviolent drug charges. Now, what's at stake is so much more important than what any one person or one politician may think about cannabis or whether or not they choose to use it. The fiscal and social impacts of sending people to jail and turning them into criminals for the use of cannabis are having devastating ripple effects on people and communities all across the country. But to speak of the fact that research are finding more and more that there are lower incidents of opioid-related deaths in states that have legalized marijuana. Now, in Congress, I've introduced H.R. 1227, a bipartisan piece of legislation that would end the federal prohibition of marijuana and take it off the federal controlled substances list. We're continuing to gain support from colleagues in both parties, but really what we need is for each of you to keep the pressure on, to share personal stories and experiences about why this action is so important. So call your lawmakers, write them letters, send them an email, tweet at them, send them a message on Facebook, hold them accountable, because we need to make this change now. In the meantime, I'm working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to provide certainty for businesses who right now face contradictory regulations and laws between individual states and federal statute that affect their bottom line and ability to operate. For example, bankers, insurance companies, and others fear the threat of federal prosecution, especially under this Attorney General, in states where marijuana has been legalized, either for medical or non-medical use. There's so much more that we can and must do to change the policies in this country that reflect where the majority of people are and defeat unfounded fears with facts, science, and the freedom of choice. Thank you for your commitment to making this happen and for putting in the work so that we can build a better, more free future together. Aloha.
I'm Congresswoman Barbara Lee, and I'm proud to represent California's 13th District in Congress. It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's timely discussion on equity in the cannabis industry. First, I'd like to thank the National Cannabis Festival for bringing everyone together. Today is an opportunity for all of us to work together to tackle some of the most pressing challenges in the cannabis industry. Foremost among these challenges is ensuring inclusion and equity for communities of color. We all know that the war on drugs has been a colossal failure that destroyed lives and targeted communities of color. As we move forward, we need restorative justice to rebuild the lives that were shattered. I am incredibly proud of my district, California's East Bay, for leading the way. By focusing on uplifting Black and brown entrepreneurs who are opening legal cannabis businesses, cities like Oakland and Berkeley, they've come together to become models for equity in the industry. Here in Washington, I am trying to end the remaining vestiges of the failed war on drugs. My bills, the Refer Act, and the Marijuana Justice Act would end the wrongful federal interference in the cannabis industry. Together, we can and will pass these comprehensive, necessary, and overdue reforms. Thank you for your work, and I wish you all a productive and successful summit.